Hello, and you're at Kim's Cozy Corner. My name is Kim, and we're going to talk a little bit about how I store and preserve my root crops. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I have had many comments in my inbox as well as in the comment box of my videos asking, what do I do with all of my onion and all of my potatoes when I bring them indoors? So we're going to take a few minutes right now and we're going to talk about the process. So let's first start with my onion. So as the season goes on and it's time to harvest those onion, I harvested those onion and I left them outside in my garage, leaving the onions in the garage to give them time to cure. Now I'm saying cure, but I mean for the stems to die all the way back and for them to get the little crispy skins on the outside of my onions. And so I let them sit in my garage probably about 3 or 4 weeks, if not longer. And then just a few weeks ago, I decided to take them from the garage into the final storage location. I am going to, in just a moment, take you down to that final storage location. And this, you'll see where I keep all of my onion throughout the year while I'm waiting to use those onion. And so it's a pretty simple process for onions. I harvest the onion, I leave them in the garage so it can get those paper skins, I clean them up and I bring them in and I will show you where they are. For my potatoes are just a little different. For the potatoes, once I harvest the potatoes, I bring them in and I lay them on a single layer wherever I can find space to kind of let those skins dry out just a little bit. And once those skins dry out just a little bit, I go ahead and put them in its final home as well. And we're going to go take a look at those final homes right now. I am now down in my basement area, and this is just a cabinet here where I keep my onions to kind of keep them out of the sunlight. And then I have them in just this basket here. And I know this is not a great location, but they're all just piled on top of each other in this basket. And that's where I store my onions. I check in on my onion at least once a week. And when I check in on my onions, I am double checking to make sure that they're not trying to re-sprout. If they start re-sprouting, or when I say re-sprout, so if you can see on this onion right here, it's super crispy, right? I took the stems off. I took the ends off of this onion as well. And if it starts growing new green stems up the center of the onion, then it's trying to regrow. And I don't want that to happen. So if that starts happening with any of the onion, I will take those onion, I will chop them up, and I will put them in the freezer. And so when I'm cooking and I need onion, I will take those onion right from the freezer and use them in my cooking. Or I will try to use it as soon as possible. But I want to get it out of the basket so it doesn't start to rot and cause the rest of the onion to go bad. That's it. That's how I keep my onion. Now let's get to those potatoes. So I store my potatoes underneath the steps to my basement. So if you look up here, here are the steps coming down to the basement. And just under the steps here, I have a shelf that I have my potatoes on. So we're in a very tight space here, but I just kind of want to show you how I'm doing my potatoes. I let those skins dry out first. That's the first thing that I need to do. Once I know those skins have dried out, I will put those potatoes in some kind of wire mesh container. Now, I won't stack the potatoes on top of each other unless I know the skins are completely dried out. So I'm trying to put a little light in the area here, but you can see I have several containers here, and I kind of separate the potatoes by the different types of potatoes that I have. And I check on my potatoes. It should be once a week, but it might be once every couple of weeks that I come in here and make sure that I'm not having any issues with the potatoes. If for some reason there's an issue with the potatoes, then I am going to go upstairs, we're going to cook them, or we're going to can those potatoes. Now, the reason why I choose this space here, one, it's one of the coolest spaces that I have in the basement. And since it's a cool space and I have it not too far from my dehumidifier, I know that the air is dry here, it's cool here, and you don't want your potatoes getting a lot of sunlight. Now, I don't have a lot of sunlight in my basement because there aren't that many windows down here, but I want to make sure there's no direct sun coming to these potatoes at any given time unless I want to, be getting the potatoes out. And all the other rooms in here are used for many different things, from my grow space to the bedroom, bathroom, the wash area. So underneath this space here, I have a blackout curtain that I've doubled over just to ensure that no light is getting into this space. So this right here is a blackout curtain, which allows no sunlight to come in. And I just have it on a curtain rod here. And I make sure that I have this curtain closing up both ends of this open space here, so no sunlight is coming to this space. And again, this is, in my mind, the best place for it. I don't have a root cellar. I don't have a storage room specifically set up for storing your vegetables and fruits and things of that nature. So this was my best option, and this is where I've been storing my potatoes as well as onion right beside it here for a few years, and it's been working pretty well. But when those potatoes are getting soft, if they're getting smushy, if they're starting to grow eyes, right, and seeds or stems and roots from it, which means it's trying to reproduce, then I am going to use them as quickly as possible, or I'm going to can them. So when the potatoes start to go bad, or if they start getting eyes, or if they start getting soft, then I'm going to can the potatoes. I have meals in the jar where I have herb potatoes. I have just plain potatoes in the jar as well. But since I've grown more than 100 pounds of potatoes this year, I didn't wait until those potatoes went bad. I went ahead and took some of those potatoes and I started canning them early because I knew I was going to have to can some of the potatoes so that I didn't lose them, because I grow a year's supply of potatoes. And since I'm growing a year's supply, I got to make sure that I'm putting it in a format, right, in a state where that it's going to last a year for me so I don't have to buy any potatoes. So last week I was extremely busy trying to get things done, and I went ahead and did some additional canning. And when I did that canning, I went ahead and did some more potatoes. And so in that canning session, I found a recipe in my ball canning book, and here's a picture of the book, and here's a picture of the recipe. The recipe was for Mediterranean potatoes, but it could also be used as breakfast potatoes. And so I canned breakfast potatoes. So in my mind, that's another meal in the jar. And so I used the same process where I cut the potatoes up into small pieces, and then I used, I think, beef broth is what I used for these jars of potatoes, and I cut up different herbs and onion and peppers from the garden, and I put all of those in the jar together, and I followed the recipe. And so this will be, actually this one here, this is a jar of breakfast potatoes. To use this, all I got to do is pour the liquid off and put it in a pan and fry it until it's crispy. And that's the same thing as breakfast potatoes. So that would be the fastest breakfast potatoes I have ever made. But here are a couple pictures of that process along the way of where I cut the potatoes. I put all the ingredients in, and I'm showing all of the different ingredients that I put in those potatoes, including the beef broth and all of the seasoning, as well as the peppers and the onion. I put them in, I think I ended up with, what, 5 jars? 1, 4. Yes, I ended up with 5 jars of breakfast potatoes, but I didn't have enough onion and peppers cut up, so I just did one basic jar in a beef broth. So I had 6 jars of potatoes that I did, and they came out beautifully. In addition to that, and I know this video is supposed to be about root crops, but I took all of my orange tomatoes and I made some sweet hot tomatoes with it. And I only used orange and yellow tomatoes, and here's pictures of its process. And the only thing I put in there are hot peppers, tomatoes, and sugar. And it came out to this amazingly rich and hot tomatoes. And they have this beautiful deep orange color. And y'all, these are so good. It's something my grandmother used to do with extra tomatoes on a Sunday morning. She'll just cut them up, throw them in a pot, put some sugar and some cayenne pepper on it, and we would dredge it on top of some beans or whatever it was we were eating for the day. And she called them hot tomatoes. And so I got 6 pints of hot tomatoes as well that day. And I'm already canning, right? I'm already going to run the container twice. So guess what, y'all? I went ahead and canned another jar of beans. So beans are coming in as well. But I had a wonderful day in the kitchen doing some canning that I didn't bring you with me. So I wanted to at least show you a couple pictures of the steps along the way, as well as the final product that I ended up with. So for those who ask, what do you do with your root crops and how do you keep a year's supply? Because of course they're not going to stay fresh for the whole year, and you're exactly right. So I keep changing the state of that particular vegetable so that I can prolong that vegetable in storage. So whether it comes in fresh, whether I dice it up and put it in the freezer, or where I turn it into a meal in a jar, or if I just can basic potatoes, I change the format to keep that year's supply coming. So we won't be buying potatoes this year, and hopefully I didn't give too many onion away and we don't have to buy onion as well. But that's how I bring the harvest in. That's how I store the harvest and how I preserve the harvest to keep that year supply coming in. As always, I hope you found this video useful in some way. And if you did, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. I will keep the videos coming. Let me know what you want to hear about and what you want to know about, and I will look at those comments and I will try to provide a video for you. So until next time, and I hope there will be a next time that you hang out with me, Kim, at Kim's Cozy Corner. Bye.